And you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
God, we should get.
And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
And I pledge of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States of America and to the republic for which the flag stands, one nation under Almighty God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know, folks, we're in a pickle. We're in a pickle. We're in a pickle. A big pickle. And this is not a good thing. Normally I have a quote for the day, but I have passed the baton on to the guest that we have coming on shortly. In the meantime, if you do not like anything that might be, let's say, offensive or sexually offensive or anatomically offensive, medically offensive, the bottom line is I hope you enjoy this next piece that we're going to present. You'll, I hope, like it.
I've been smelling my hole. I just got a sex change. It's already infected. It smells like shit and decay. Really good chance I'm gonna take my life one day. At least I'll get more attention than all those normie gays. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to when a creature like me believes that it's true that he could just wake up and not be a dude. But he is. Oh, he is living as a new girl with a Y chromosome. You ask which men can be women, I'll tell you which can. The ones that trade their pole for a hole, and that hole really stinks, and it's covered in goo, and it smells like a combo of roadkill and poo. If I don't dilate it, it will heal shut and fill in. Tell me which man can be women. There's a global mission to turn peepees to giners. They'll do it to minors, they don't care. Lord, I got gigantic feet, but I cut off my meat. Both my butt cheeks are covered in hair. Still got an Adam's apple the size of a planet. My name used to be Craig, but I changed it to Janet. Got brainwashed by the internet, left holding the bag. I cut my penis off, I could have just been a fag. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to when a creature like me believes that it's true that he can just wake up and not be a dude, but he is. Oh, he is living as a new girl with a Y chromosome. You ask which man can be women, I'll tell you which can. The ones that trade their pole for a hole, and that hole really stinks, and it's covered in goo, and it smells like a combo of roadkill and poop. If I don't dilate it, it will heal shut and fill in. Tell me which man can be women. I've been smelling my hole. I got a sex change, and now I regret it. I should have just been fucking gay. Just been fucking gay.
Well, like I said, it's always going to be a different one. I'm going to find new songs. Let me know how you feel about that one. Share it, of course. It's something that we need is a little bit of a parody, a laugh. But I told you I had someone special coming on. He's not even close to being new to podcasting. John Dady, how are you?
Dady, Vinzent,
Dady,
man. You did it again on purpose. Hey, people.
That's horrible. That is just flipping.
My thought for the day is, I don't have one. Why don't you? I'm talking to the viewers.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
You know, John,
I hate having to do the thinking all the time, Vincent.
This is very true. Sometimes it's good to pass that along. Just me. Who knew that wait a minute. Who knew that cut a cock of meat was permanent? Measure twice and cut once is fine. Hey, just me. I like you. You're pretty funny there, dude. Or girl, you're pretty funny. So, no, that was
a friend of mine wants to log in. How does she do this?
Oh, I don't have a clue. How do
her...
people log in? Do they just go to Facebook and look up common denominator or what? Yeah, there we go. I'm coming down a list. At Just Me. What's up, man? Okay, so Chad, that must be one of Chad's buds. No doubt. And no, that wasn't me singing. No, that wasn't me singing. And no, that wasn't me singing. Come on. Was that me singing? No. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, here we go. All right, now we're back and all caught up. But seriously, got to go back. Who knew cut a cock off of me's was permanent? You know, John, what do you think about this? Seriously, this whole, and I call it a charade. I call it a character charade. That's all it is.
Well, it's Satan's playground again.
Well, so, there's there's no doubt.
The great deceiver, obviously, and there's no shortage of people who are spiritually bankrupt and who just believe this nonsense. And they're all to be found in the Democrat Party. All of them live there. Our side, unfortunately, we're not sending them back to where they came from.
Well, the thing is, I do believe there are some on the Republican side of the party as well.
Well, sure there is.
No doubt.
But I don't personally know
many. For sure.
But it's a numbers game. So obviously there are. But it's led by Satan, who's the head of the Democrat Party. I mean, come on. Any party that insists on murdering unborn children, you're a demon. You can't run away from that. You are a demon. Any party that insists that any minor has the right to mutilate their body and promotes it, you are a demon. You cannot run from that. There's no way you can. So I believe in calling them out for what they are. They are demons. And I wish people, and I've been saying this for years, and I wish this would catch on in the mainstream. You know, they have no problem calling us all kinds of nasty things. None of it's true. White supremacists, neo-Nazis, fascists, racists, all that. They just got a name for everything. None of it's true about the vast majority of the people on the right. At least that name fits the Democrats. They are demons. Nobody can argue that with me. If you're trying to argue that with me, you must be a demon yourself. So that's where I'm coming from on this, everybody.
Well, we are a morally bankrupt society. The one word that to me, we all want to throw the word love around, love, love, love. But the one that I go back to the old great Aretha Franklin with respect. I think respect is pretty much the common core bottom line. And if you have any kind of mental faculties about you of common sense, and even in most cases of those, the Democrats, as I call them, that follow the nonsense, even then you can still find some type of respect, even if it's crass and brash. I've been told I'm very brash, by the way, John.
It happens, Vince.
Yeah, and I look at it as a badge of honor. In fact, my girlfriend was whenever she meets a new friend of mine that I've known for decades in some cases, it's what are the three things you can tell me about Vince? And the first one's brash, or the second one, and then the last one's usually I'm just a really loyal, good friend. Someone that's just there. Then that's kind of to know, I think, about myself. So.
Well, sure.
But brash sometimes can be very beneficial. You're blunt, you're direct, sometimes we say things, we're lining and dialing in on all the facts, and we end up hurting someone's feelings. Is that what our intent was, John, do you think?
No. My intent is always to educate people. And if you're offended by it, you're the ones I really need to talk to the most, but you're the ones who never listen because they don't. So I spent a lot of time trying to reach out to the Democrats and educate them. And no, you can't. I mean, there's people who still try, but you're wasting your time. You can't reach those people. They're dumbed down. They're indoctrinated. They're a spiritual wasteland. They've already signed up with Satan, whether they know it or not. They already have. I don't have the ability. Nobody does. No human has the ability to talk a Democrat out of being a Democrat. It's just not possible. These people, they share a brain. Sometimes, I'll just mess with them because I know how it's going to go. And they've been this way for decades. And they always say, well, where'd you get your information from? And so you tell them, and I have multiple streams of information, right? And go, oh, well, none of that's credible. I go, what? Where do you get your information from? Of course, they rattle off the mainstream media, which they're the ones that aren't credible. But they've been brainwashed and dumbed down to actually believe that if somebody's getting information other than from their sources, it's a lie. None of it's true. And that's how they respond to everything. Cite your sources. Every one of them. You could have 5,000 of those people right now on this show and start talking to them. And they'll say, cite your sources. Then you cite your sources. And they'll say, none of that's true. Those sources aren't legitimate. Every one of them. All the time, people. So they literally share a brain. The entire Democrat Party shares a brain, literally brainwashed. You can't reach them. And our side keeps trying to reach across the aisle. I tell these Republicans that say, we got to reach across the aisle to our friends. It says, they're not your friends. And the fact that you consider them your friends makes you my enemy.
Now,
you cannot compromise with Satan and then call it a win. We do it all the time. We compromise with Satan and go, hey, look, we won. No, we didn't. You just compromised with Satan. That means Satan got what he wanted. Right?
Yeah, right. You just said something a moment, come across the aisle, and talk about it. You and I, for a couple of 20 minutes or so, we were down in the studio green room, it's called, folks. Green room, that's where we have all the champagne and caviar and bagels and stuff. But anyway, seriously, John, you made a good point about something, and I thought to myself, yeah, I've wanted to go, but never really did it. And then it's like, I hate them so much, I never wanted to find one. But you said that several decades ago, folks, notice what I'm saying to John. Several decades ago, John actually took the time to, and through the years, he occasionally wanders into where? John, where do you wander into?
Oh, I would do it on purpose. I'd wander into the enemy camp known as the Democrat committee meetings. And I started that when I was 17, 18 years old. I studied a lot of history, and by default, you study a lot of politics as you're studying history. And my parents were Democrats, and their bullshit wasn't lining up with me at all. So I started going to meetings. My parents never even went to a meeting. They just followed what they were told to do. And I tell you what, guys, that was a hell of a lesson. When you're breaking bread with the enemy and they don't know that you're not one of them, you learn how they think, why they think, how they act, and how they react. And that was a learning experience you can't get anywhere else. And over the decades, I've asked a lot of people who are in Republican politics if they've ever attended a Democrat meeting. In fact, I just asked a former two-term senator in Missouri a couple of weeks ago after I did a show. He said, no, never been to one. Really? How can you not have gone to their camp? They're not like us. They're nothing like us. They're conniving. They're clever. They are smart in their insanity. They're united. And they know that we're not united. They know that we're not that clever. They know that we're never going to believe their insane BS that they said they're going to do. And they know that we're never going to fight them.
Then let me ask you this. Since the Democrats have made society, and I'm using a form of a quote, by the way, from Tyrus from Gutfeld the other evening, since the Democrats have made society so comfortable, and as they are more comfortable, they're less fearful. And when they're less fearful, they're more conformative. And when they're more conformative, there's less fighting. So you made a point about unity. What do you think it's going to a Republican Party? I mean, personally, myself, you are running for the 6th district candidate again for U.S. Congress.
Yeah, I probably will run again next year.
You will?
Just depends how things go with the health.
Okay. I think you should. The little I know of you, you seem very strong in your constitution. And I correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And we've joked around, not joked. I have entertained. Here we go. I have entertained the thought of running for governor just because I'm from Pennsylvania and I look like this. If Pennsylvanians can be so damn stupid
to elect Fetterman,
believe and elect a John Fetterman, and New Jersey and Delaware can be so stupid to have Biden. I mean, what the hell? They can't go wrong with having me as a governor. You really can't, folks. No, because, John, I'm going to throw it to you like this. First and foremost, law and order. I mean, dump funds into getting the cops, get lawyers to back the cops up as well. And all the right equipment, all the body cameras and stuff like that, and cars decked out in them as well. What do you think about that?
Well, I was on my first campaign was in 2000 and for Congress. There's a lot of stuff going on, and what we need to do is with police. Yes, we need to put more money into police, but a lot of that money needs to go into initial training and ongoing education. They get little to no training in sociology and psychology. They don't. You have to understand the human condition better than what the average police officer does. And honestly, they just don't. And so we need to improve it there. Equipment-wise, they're doing pretty good on equipment. 30 years ago, you couldn't say that. But they're doing a lot better. I'm worried about the training or the lack thereof. And again, psychology and sociology classes are really not even emphasized in the academy or anytime afterwards. Right. And Vincent, you're a lot like me. That is very important. So you got a lot of cops that can't handle a situation right because they're not equipped properly. They're not trained and educated properly. We see it all the time on these videos online. It's like, are you kidding me? You just did that? Talking about the officer. You just escalated when you didn't have to escalate.
Right.
They're not being trained on that at all.
Well,
That is a crucial factor. We must start doing that.
Yeah. And you're talking about having psychologists and sociologists. Personally, myself, I've traveled the country. I've been in 46 of the 48 continental, and excluding Alaska and Hawaii as well. And Cuba, I guess, or Puerto Rico. One of those are ours.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah. I just, but seriously.
We had Cuba once, we let it go.
You're right. But, when you're in the elements of, i.e. example, when you are in a contained area of a democratic city, which is predominantly, in some cases, what they would call a ghetto, with many different mixed groups of people within that society structure. I mean, just the name alone lets you know that it's impoverished. Okay. And so there's a lot of bad things: prostitution, drug gambling, drug selling, alcohol, you name it. The cops see this and they actually have to justify, I guess, in some cases, even in some cases, they have to live in the area.
Yes, they do.
And who wants to live in an area? And I've got to say it like this, but when you're stacked on one another, you've got that pressure of no privacy. Everyone knows your business. And I think it's a very, very, poor way of dealing with impoverished people, for instance, that are on disabilities in some cases, and so on and so forth, welfare, so on and so forth. That's another thing, welfare. Helping hand up, but I don't want to give a handout. The handouts are killing us.
You should watch one of my campaign videos from last year. It is on Rumble, and I'm on Rumble at JBD10611, and I address that issue and get right to the point of the matter, because I understand these issues and I'm not afraid to talk about it like our friends on the right. They don't understand, number one, because I know I talk to a lot of them. And the few that do, they're just like, oh, well, the people will figure it out. No, they won't figure it out. You have to enlighten them first and educate them. Now that they have proper information, then it's up to them to do something with it. But we're not even seeing that going on right now. I just, Vincent, I've really thought, at least after the second indictment of Trump, that some of his 74 or 5 million supporters would have said, okay, that's enough. They get their ass up off the couch, right? And get out there and start forming organizations, and would have had at least a few 100,000 people at the third and fourth courthouse he had to surrender to, right?
Right.
No, what'd they do? Nothing. Now, I'm going to tell you this, people. After going to scores of Democrat meetings, being raised by Democrats, when they know that you're not going to do anything against them, wow, they're coming at you twice as hard because they have zero respect for you. It's like the Republican Party, the Trump supporters, have proven to the Democrats, this is them talking, that we can do anything to President Trump that we want, and you all won't do a damn thing about it. So you're encouraging them on. This is how their minds work, because they're evil. Okay. So I have said for months, Tucker Carlson has nothing on me. Shit, he probably steals half my stuff. I have said for months that they will kill President Trump before they allow him back in that White House. And his supporters are putting him at the great risk of having himself killed by the Democrats. And you want to say, but why? I support Trump. Do you? Your lack of actual support it tells the Democrats, like I just said, they know that they can do anything to Trump. They want to at all, and we won't do anything. And that includes killing him. Because when they do that, because they will, you all, instead of rightfully taking back your government, because we have the legal authority to do just that, which you should have already done, but you won't even then, you'll look around and go, well, who else wants to save our ass? You're not going to find anybody, because that would be the ultimate chilling effect on anybody else. Well, hey, after what you just did to Trump or what you're doing to Trump now. No. So our voters, our so-called patriots, you're putting him at risk by keeping your mouths shut, by not getting out there. Look, Vince, I'm sorry, I'm carrying on a little bit, but we started the Tea Party online, folks. Late 2008, early into 2009. And that was started on a website that a lot of us had been going to, and some national figures had been going to as well for a long time. And then once Obama got elected and he started this $1 trillion stimulus thing, it was before he was even inaugurated, we started uniting. We started that in a freaking chat room. Okay, I was there. I was one of them in a chat room. A couple years later, Lois Lerner come after us with the IRS. Remember that, Vincent?
Right.
I got my audit. A lot of us got audited. Scared the bejesus out of every single one of them, and they shut it down.
Well, the reason why
that's called the chilling effect.
I know, but the thing is this, and the second chilling effect we've had as of lately would be the January 6th, quote unquote,
absolutely,
insurrection. And you just looked at these Proud Boys. Now, this I can tell you, when Donald Trump gets inaugurated, before he leaves that podium, this is what I believe will be happening. He's going to be leaving the podium saying, folks, I'm about ready to go in, sit down, and write a pardon for all these people.
Yep.
Flat out the gate. I do believe that is what that man will do as his very first act for the American people.
Well, it would be if they allow him to live.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say that they will, because I've got to believe that he's such a highly protected individual. There's just not a chance in hell that I just don't believe there's a chance in hell that he's going to be, get held captive or taken or taken out completely. I
never underestimate Satan. That's the thing. Our side doesn't even recognize that he's real. Number one, well, he's real, and because I know he's real, you can't underestimate that dude. You just can't do it. There's 1,000 different ways they could take him out. There literally is. Or let's say that they violate his bail and they go out and they arrest him and they throw him into the gulag and they Jeffrey Epstein him. I mean, come on, Vincent. There's 1,000 ways they can do this. And they know, again, people, this is directed at you. They know that they can do whatever they want to President Trump because you won't do anything about it because you haven't done anything now. So you are putting him at additional risk. I'm just being honest with you. And I know that because I know how they think. I know how they operate. And so many of my Republican friends, they want to assign goodness and grace to these people, but they don't have any. They have no goodness. They have no grace. They have no soul. And because I know this personally from decades of experience, I'm very confident in what I just told you. Those of you who believe the opposite, you're fooling yourself. You're being deceived by the great deceiver himself. I haven't been deceived by that entity in my entire life because I was raised by it. I was raised in a very violent household. I've seen evil since the minute I was born. So you learn how to survive it. You learn how to recognize it. You learn how to deal with it. So when I'm telling you straight, you all are believing things that just simply are not true. And I can't get through to you because I'm just a guy on the screen that you never heard of. But I am hoping and praying that some of my words resonate with you right down to your soul. And you start searching yourselves like, you know what? This guy kind of pissed me off, but he's right. I feel something in here that what he's saying is true. Because that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and see, like for myself personally, I not long ago, I had the wonderful opportunity of being in the middle of nowhere. And I had a great Reuben sandwich and fries.
Cameron was already the middle of nowhere. I'm sorry.
Close. Just when you thought you were in the middle of nowhere, trust me. Okay. I was up in a little town, and later on, I was listening to the people in this little town. I'm talking to Podunk, nowhere outside of Albany, nowhere.
Yeah.
And you've got these people that are concerned. For instance, I heard one guy say, well, if the kid would just cut his hair and what was it? So the kid would just cut his hair and get a job. And that's the sad thing. Even in these little bedunk towns, you've got these kids that are running their parents' lives. Another guy later on in a moment, he turns around and says, yeah, they just want to make, I had this one kid say, well, I just need enough money to buy a bag of weed. Then what are you going to do for the next week? Nothing.
Yeah.
Starve. And then you'll get a job to pick up cans somewhere and you'll make your $40, buy your weed, then you'll be back at it again, ground zero.
Yep.
But the thing is, you've got a little town, for instance, like Albany, which is very Democratic. Very Democratic. I think you're making me think about where I need to be visiting, by the way. Get it further away from where I'm at and really check out the boonies. Because I met a wonderful man. He owns this little facility. It's called Middle Fork Bar in Gentry. That's a shout out to them. Middle Fork Bar in Gentry. Believe me, the steak is well worth it. Great cut of meat. And great flavor. Anyway, we've got these people out there that are very concerned. You had, this gentleman here that I spoke to. I'm not going to give too much more information as of yet. Very nice man. He's like, I want to put an apartment complex up here, but I can't get anything done because you don't have a septic system and we don't have a sewer system and blah, 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 blah. And that takes tax money. We know these things.
He would need his own sewage plant there.
Yes. So,
those aren't cheap.
And here's a man that's willing. He's a farmer into agriculture. He's a bar owner, restaurant entrepreneur, restaurant entrepreneur. He's a cattleman. I mean, running combines for the season now to reap. And they're wanting to work. But the young people don't want to work. They don't want to work at Triumph Foods. And we have a whole bunch of Hispanics that are there that can't speak English, working in a plant where apparently, I guess it's too good. I know one thing. I was 23, 24, 25. I worked in a meat packing plant at Winn-Dixie down in Florida. It was a job until I got something better.
That's right.
I mean, it's our society. It's good men that, John, really, I think it just boils down to the men of our society. You're either going to be good men doing stuff within the community, for the community, for certain people. Maybe it's just somewhat a cause that you believe in, and you go with it,
Yeah, I was looking at our comment line, and Chad Candy says, Dems are leaving like crazy, though. Well, we don't have any real evidence of that. And Biden's still sitting at 40% approval rating. I said I don't ever think he'd get down to 35, and I don't think he will. So that tells you that still 40% of the Democrats who voted for him still support him. The others are just keeping their mouth shut.
You're watching polls that don't exist.
Oh, these are all kinds of polls.
Yeah,
I understand the polls, but I didn't have the backstory, the inside of the polls, because it wasn't that detailed. But the point is, he's still sitting at roughly 40% on average. Yeah, he is within the Democrat Party. Yes, he is, and that's horrible. So the fact that he still has any support left at all, and look at this, 100% of the Democrat senators would vote against him being guilty in any trial, wouldn't they? Yes, they would.
Right.
So would the Democrat voters insist that they find him guilty? No, because they're fine with what Biden's doing. Here's the thing about Democrats. Their motto basically is this: anything and everything is fair game to them as long as they accomplish their goals. Nothing is off limits. That's how they've always operated. Nothing has changed on that. Their goals is communism. Their goals is they think they know more about the whole damn world than the rest of us do. That's just how they are. So they're not going to be happy until they're running this damn country. Then we have the enemies overseas, which we can get into later. I'll talk to Vincent about this. That they're right there to finish us off. The point is, the Democrats don't like you. They don't like freedoms. They don't like you not agreeing with them, and they don't like you standing up against them. They don't have to worry about that too often because you really don't.
You know, I'd like to ask you a question. Have you ever tried to reach out, just out of curiosity, not that for no other purpose but conversation, of course?
Sure.
What do you think of RFK Jr. And would you ever want to maybe reach out and have that conversation with him?
Yeah, I'd like to have. I'm ready. I'd reach out to anybody and talk to him. Here's what's interesting about RFK. He's starting to understand that maybe he already learned his lessons, that the Democrats are freaking evil. They're not the party of his uncle or his father. It's a completely different party. If either one of them were alive today, they would not be Democrats. They'd be Republicans. Now, most Democrats would say, no, because they don't know their history. So RFK still is all in favor for murdering unborn babies. I'm against that. And he said that while he wouldn't bring forth legislation to limit ownership of guns, if legislation was agreed to and reached his desk, he'd sign it. So we have two really big issues right there. But what I've seen with him and the way they've attacked him at those hearings that he's been in, his own party attacking him, welcome to our world, RFK Jr. They eat their own. They do eat their own. You get out of line, you're done. And if he starts gaining traction and it looks like he's going to get the nomination away from Biden, they'll take care of him too. I promise you, they will not let him take the nomination away from Biden. Just like in 2000, Bernie Sanders was kicking Biden's ass all over the map, wasn't he? Yep.
Yeah.
They come to a deal in South Carolina on Super Tuesday, didn't they, Vincent? And it turned a page. Bernie Sanders just said, I'm done. Everybody go over to Biden.
And they did.
They couldn't control Bernie the way they can Biden. Now, everybody's making this thing about Biden's age. You guys, quit buying the stupid narrative. They're focusing on age instead of mental capacity because Trump is he's only 2 years younger than Biden. You see, you follow their little tea leaves. They will always tell you what they're doing every single time. You just have to listen. Pay attention. Don't let pay attention fool you. It really doesn't cost you anything. Okay? So we need to change the narrative. Oh, I know. We never change a narrative. We just respond to bullshit on their side. It's not his age. It's his cognitive ability. It's his dementia. Bernie Sanders is 2 or 3 years older than Biden. He's still a well-spoken little socialist. Not a problem.
He is. Yes, you got to give the man credit. He sure is.
There's a lot of people older than Biden who are still sharp as hell. But they're having us focus on age. We need to have an age limit. No, we don't need an age limit. We need a cognitive limit. Now, Biden was always known as the most stupid man in the Senate. Everybody I'm a freak. I followed stuff my whole life. Biden has always been known as literally the most ignorant man and the biggest liar and plagiarist in the Democrat Party. Always has been. Yet, allegedly, 81 million geniuses voted for him. Go figure that.
Yeah.
Why would 81 million people vote for a vegetable?
There's just no way.
It's because, Vincent, did I ever tell you about the Census Bureau reports from 2020 election?
No.
Really? Okay. Well, Census Bureau, folks, in case you don't know, keeps track of basically everything in this country. And they compile data. And the data is free and available to anybody who asks for it. The Census Bureau doesn't make commentary on the data. They just say, here's the data points for whatever it is. You do with it what you want. Okay? Well, prior to the election, of course, we saw Vinzent did too. A lot of us saw these states changing their election laws, changing literally the dates on which the elections were held, correct? I'll get back to that in a minute. But the elections are being held illegally, number one. I'm going to just mention that right now. We have a federal law enacted in 1845. It's 2 USC Code, Section 7. I'll say that one more time. 2 USC Code, Section 7. That federal law states the date federal elections are to be held. We have a federal law on when elections are to be held. That is the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November by an act of Congress. This is a federal law. The states cannot alter, amend, or otherwise ignore this federal law. And I can hear you out there saying, oh, well, John, the states have the authority to. Yes, they do. But their authority to manage our elections are not unlimited. And the Constitution makes that clear and makes it very clear that the Congress may, from time to time, pass legislations where voting is concerned, how elections are done. It's in the Constitution. In 1845, Congress did just that. Little factoid, before 1845, the states could hold their elections. You ready for this, guys? Not on one day, but for 34 days prior to the first Wednesday of December. Interesting, isn't it, Vincent? Yep. That's how it was done. Well, as communication started getting faster and more reliable, Congress thought, well, wait a minute. We got these states that are voting early, and we got these states that are voting late. Now, these states that are voting late knows about the votes from the ones that voted early. It's adding to and causing a lot of corruption and fraud. We have to have every vote at the same day. Makes sense, right? So that's what happened. Well, in 2020, in 2022, and again in 2024, states will be holding their federal elections, which Congress has authority over, illegally. You cannot vote 4 or 5 weeks before the date, by mail or in person. It is not legal. Now, you would think President Trump knows about this. He doesn't. And I clipped one of the speeches he was giving to some volunteers at his campaign in Nevada. And he said one of the first things he does when he gets back into the White House is get a law passed for one-day voting only. Of course, in paper ballots and hand counting, which that needs to be added to this current law. So by his statement on that, and he's made that a couple of times, Vincent, he doesn't know about 2 U.S.C. Section 7. Neither does his attorneys. Because, Vincent, if you knew about these things, you wouldn't be talking about getting that law, would you? No.
Correct.
And you would have already been in the federal court to sue those states for violating those federal laws, which, when they violated those laws, guess what those states did to the states that held their elections legally? They disenfranchised us, which is another voting crime. That's a felony. So those states that hold their votes illegally disenfranchise the rest of us. Trump doesn't know about it. Now I know 3 people that could call Trump today. Go out golf with him. They know the guy. He's on speed dial. 3. I've had the conversation with all 3 of them. 2 of them personally, once through a friend of mine. And so I recently talked to a friend of mine who talked to this other guy, Joe Hoft. You know who Joe Hoft is? Of the Gateway Pundit. And I says, would you give Joe Hoft this information? And he goes, great. A couple weeks go by, I don't hear anything. And I was down at the station. I says, did you give Joe this information? Yeah. I says, well, what did he say? He says he seemed completely disinterested, didn't give a damn. Neither do the other 2 people that I know personally, who I told this information to personally, who could pick up the phone and call Trump today and tell him this. They will not do it. I'm not sure. If they doubt me, if they think I'm a liar, an idiot, or something, look it up. Hoff wouldn't even look it up. And I'm pretty confident the other two didn't either. And I told my friend who gave the message to Hoff personally, I said, it's not up to any of these guys, because he asked if I told this other guy that, and I said, yes, I told him. It's not up to them to decide if it's legit, because it is. They give this information to Trump because he's clearly liking it. Let him decide what he wants to do with it. Does that sound reasonable, Vincent?
Right.
They're not doing it. They're withholding really serious information that the guy does not have. Now, back to the election of 2020. Census Bureau report. Stop me if you guys have any questions you want to chime in. I'm trying to follow the comment section. In 2020, Vincent and everybody else, there was 232 million eligible voters in this country. That means citizens, they were citizens and age of 18 or older. 232 million. There were 165 million or so, 168 million registered voters. Now, you all understand the difference between people who are actually registered and the ones who are eligible but not registered, right? We get that. And now, do you remember that the media was quoting a 66.7% voter turnout? Remember that?
Right.
And how great that turnout was? Guess what number? No, you would think they would base that percentage.
That number came back from the registered voters.
No. That number did not come from the registered voters, Vincent. That number came from the total of 232 million people who could vote, registered or not. Does that make sense? No. 66.7% of 168 million registered voters is not 154 million votes, Vincent. Which everybody kind of agreed is between 154 million and 158 million votes, right? I do my research. So there's where they're at. Everybody agreed to the 66.7% voter turnout. You would have to use the people who are actually registered to vote. They didn't. They used everybody 18 or over, 66.7% of them turned out to vote, which got you the 154 million votes. But 66, it's right there in the Census Bureau report. They graphed this all out, guys. 66.7% of registered voters would have got you 113, almost 114 million votes, not 154. You'd have had to have 92% voter turnout of the registered voters in order to get 154 million votes. Well, nobody would have believed the 92%, would they? No. Joe Biden did not win this election. Joe Biden got about 39 million votes. Buried. The Census Bureau numbers are right there. In fact, I even asked ChatGPT. The first question I asked that little pre-programmed thing was about the election. Its answer was priceless. You know who's programming these things? The left-wing lunatic, batshit crazy people, right? So I says, okay. So I'm having this conversation. It's always a female voice, It's just really. Anyway, so it's like, what set of numbers should be used? Shouldn't we be using the registered voter population for the voters counts percentages instead of the other one? And this thing says, well, it depends on one's perspective. Perspective. That's exactly what ChatGPT said to me. It depends on your perspective, on which set of numbers you want to use. Well, I want to use the ones that says these are the people who are actually registered, not the 232 million total, and 70 million of those aren't registered, yet they count them in the total. That's what happened, folks. It's all right there. Trump doesn't know this either. Been putting that out there for a year and a half for him. And somebody basically copied what I'd been saying, but they added in the Dominion thing. You notice I didn't say anything about Dominion, did I? Or any election machine, did I?
No.
that clouds the whole freaking thing, and it just causes people's eyes just to roll over and shut up. You leave that out. You don't need that argument to win the case. Okay? So leave it the hell out of the argument. Period. This guy, of course, throws it in the Dominion. Just amateur. If you don't need the information to determine your case, and that information that you're putting in is deemed as, suspicious, and you don't need it in the first place, why the hell are you even mentioning it? Right? But this is how our site works. So the numbers are there, people. You can look it up yourself. I always suggest everybody just look up what I'm saying and use the information and realize you've been lied to. This is all in coordination with the media. The media knows what the outcome of this election was. Trump doesn't. Trump doesn't even know about this either. I've also been trying to get this information to him as well. Nope. Nobody shares a damn thing. I really don't know what they're afraid of. I really don't. Maybe I can't fathom. Because when I have good, solid information about something that could affect anybody, I share it with them. They don't have to ask me, John, can I have your opinion? Because listen, folks, and Vincent, I think you'll back me up on this. Most people don't know enough to know that they may need the advice and opinion of somebody else. They just don't know. So when we see somebody, a friend or even a foe that's struggling with something because they maybe has some bad information, it's up to us to give them the good information.
Right.
Whether they use it or not, okay, that's up to them. But we have an obligation morally and spiritually to share that information for something that can help our fellow man. We do not do that in this country. I do. I always have, and I've always been attacked for doing so. Oh, John, if they wanted to know, if they wanted your opinion or your thoughts, they'd ask you, but they don't know enough to know to ask. Sound reasonable, Vincent?
Yep. And
we need more people doing that.
Right. And Chad mentioned about the Dems are going crazy and they're leaving their party. I know they're leaving their states, but I'm afraid they're going to bring their ideologies.
Absolutely.
In doing so, they're just going to be more disruptive to the civilized society.
That's what they're
doing. That's
what
their problem is. They're just disruptive minions.
And they brag about it. They're happy about it. So, yes, they will bring their beliefs with them to their new states. I sent some stuff to Texas and to Florida on what I would do to protect my state, my citizens from these locusts moving in from these blue states. What do locusts do? They destroy everything in front of them and then they move on, right? That's what a Democrat is. They destroy everything they have and they move on to the next fertile area and destroy that too. They're locusts from the Bible, the biblical mean things that are they're a plague upon men, right? So states can control citizenship requirements before they can vote in their elections, can't they?
Yep.
Is that we pretty much agree on that?
Yeah.
So these red states, and of course, nobody listens to me because I don't know why, but here's my thought on that. It's like, okay, Florida, Texas, Missouri, any other red state, you want to remain red? You better change the requirements, the lenient requirements to become a citizen in your state in order to vote in elections.
Right.
We can actually say, okay, if you're from a blue state, and this isn't being prejudiced, this is political, this is self-preservation. If you're from a blue state and you have voted for Democrats in the last 20 years, you may vote in the local elections where you're paying taxes into, because, we can't have this taxation without representation shit going on, right? So we'll let you do that one, but, we're going to have to really keep a watchful eye on them. But you're not going to be able to vote in our statewide elections. You're not going to be able to vote for president in this state until you have demonstrated through education, and we will provide the education, not unlike aliens who come here legally have to go through all these citizenship classes, right, Vincent?
Right.
And they have to
They're
know.
Supposed to.
They do. A lot
Yeah.
of them. Well, you're supposed to know how to read and write English. You're supposed to
Well,
know.
right now they're just crossing the border. They
Well,
don't.
those are illegals. I'm talking the legal ones that come
Yes.
over. When
Yeah.
you come over legally, there's a lot of stuff you have to learn.
Yep, there's a protocol policy.
Now, when you're moving from a blue state to a red state, you will have to go through those same challenges, those same education levels to bring your level of knowledge up to what we are. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. Here's your duties as a citizen, and just teach you everything like you do. Somebody who's coming over here legally, they have to learn all these things before they can become a citizenship. In fact, they know more once they go through the citizenship program than the average college educated person in this country who was born here. They know more about our government and how it works than they do. So I would implement something along those lines. As you're coming in out of these states that are blue that you've destroyed, that you must pass these things first and demonstrate a working knowledge of our government and our former government in our state as well before you can vote. And I don't see anything wrong with that. And I would love all of our red state governors to announce that tomorrow. And imagine the outcry. This is called changing the narrative, Vincent. We need to create the narrative and have those lunatics respond to us, which is a glorious thing when you set the narrative for demons.
When you set the tone, yes.
Because guess what, guys? Satan's not used to that. He is not used to being challenged. And when you not only challenge him, but you start making some body blows and a couple uppercuts on the guy, oh, he'll back up like anybody else will. Now you're beginning to own that son of a bitch. And you can do it because, well, I've done it and documented every damn bit of it. So we can fight back. We can get them off balance. We can control the narrative. I know, Vincent, and you could hear the people too. I just feel it coming in through the screen. John, God wins in the end. Yes, he does. Absolutely.
Well,
But
we have to do our part.
nowhere does it say that. You know what really pisses me off, Vincent, about the Christians, and I'm really spiritual myself. I had a falling out with organized religion a long time ago because guess what? They were never there when I needed them. Not one time. So we have to
Well, I will on defense of religious organizations. I'm okay with that. It's sometimes the structure within the organization that we
you're
find
right, either
problems
way.
with.
But
Yeah,
we
that's the
need to
structure within. And
You're right.
when a pastor doesn't step up to do the right thing for his flock and educate them, i.e., example, we have a bunch of pornography in the public school paid for by the taxpayers, and they're being distributed and bribed by the teachers to read this type of material. And we've got, oh, here you go. Let me throw this name at you. We've got Dean Van Schoik, state representative. And I know this firsthand. He spoke with Matt Robinson, the superintendent, who, of course, is the one that authorized all these books for the past 12 years to be placed into the library with the librarian, Tanya O'Boyles. And we've got a state representative that says, well, he's handling it just fine as far as I'm concerned because he's married to a teacher and because he has a daughter who's a teacher. He doesn't want to get involved and he won't come and talk to the community. And we've got these pastors that are supposed to be leaders of this community here in Cameron, and they are not stepping up. And one of the pastors, I won't say his name, he flat out said, if I was to show up at a meeting, he is walking out the door. That is not the way a republic should be ran. We don't care about your feelings in there. You don't agree with me? That's fine. Hash that out. You don't have to like me. Let's work on the problem.
That's right.
And get the books out of school. Get the state representative that's not doing his job. Make sure he does not hold another political office the next go around. Because he's killing the people. What's that?
He'd probably get reelected. People don't pay
Oh
attention.
no, this I believe is his second term.
Oh, he's termed out.
He's termed out. I'm very, very embarrassed to say that I had that much belief. I mean, he said all the right stuff, but the actions are not there. Dean Van Schuik, state representative, you are an embarrassment to the Cameron, Missouri community. You are an embarrassment. That's Vincent Cooper saying that to you. Now, on the other hand, by the way, John, Maisie Boyd has my heart. She reaches out weekly on Facebook to let people know what she's doing, what bills she's looking at writing, signing, so on and so forth. She keeps us in the loop. And that, my friend, is what I think. If you were to get elected, would you attempt to make at least a weekly 1 to 2 hour presentation to the community of which you're representing, of letting them know what you're doing while you're there in DC or if
I wouldn't even have to do that because the whole damn country would know what I'm doing in DC.
Right on.
I wouldn't be going there to make friends.
Correct. Okay? That's kind of how I'm thinking.
I'd be going there to hold people's feet to the fire and embarrass the hell out of them for their own damn two things: stupidity and corruption,
and ignorance.
Is fun. It's fun to do that because they never see it coming because, well, they're stupid. Now, back to the religious thing, we got to stop. It's great. Get on your knees and pray to God for guidance and help. But by God, get off your knees, put on your armor of God and start fighting. So many Christians I see online everywhere say, well, John, we pray and God will come back and he wants an end. Yes, but we don't know when that is, people. Okay, so what are you supposed to do in the meantime? Oh, here's what you guys have collectively decided, consciously or otherwise. You've decided we aren't going to do anything. We will wait for Jesus to return. We don't know when it gets back. Now, because I am who I am, let's try this one, folks. Vincent agrees. Jesus does. God expects us to do things, not just, God will take care of us. You got to do something along the way. And look what happens when you don't. You get lost in the wilderness for 2 generations. Okay. So that should be a warning to you. But no, we're stupid and stubborn. I don't know what the hell our problem is. But anyway. So what if God is just sitting up there going, I gave you all free will. I gave you this great country. You're the most powerful political people on the planet because of your form of government. And you're using me as the excuse to do nothing because that's what you all are doing. Well, God will come back and save us, so we don't need to do anything. That is using God as an excuse to do nothing. I can't imagine he's too happy about that. I just can't imagine it. So think about this, people. What if it takes action on the part of the Christians in mass to stand up collectively, strategically start fighting back against Satan? Now, I would imagine then God's attitude changes. Says, wow, they're using the free will to come towards me and to protect a God-given country. Now, God would probably smile down upon us and he'll say, Gabriel, get blowing that horn. Maybe that is what would cause it. Because I can promise you right now, there's going to be no Gabriel blowing a horn. You all know what I'm talking about. There's going to be none of that. As long as we sit back and we pray and we say we don't need to do anything else but pray because God will save our ass. That's not a winning solution, folks. It just isn't.
No, it's not. But
I don't know how to explain it any differently. Well, you're not going to hear this in church. I can promise you that.
Right.
They will never tell you this. It is on you. All you people who claim to be Christians, this is about you. It's on you. And God is watching. And right now, he can't be too happy. You're literally using him as an excuse to do nothing.
You're absolutely correct, John. You're absolutely correct. But the thing is, where does it start? It's it goes back.
Starts right here, right now. It can start anywhere. Yep. Literally, we started the Tea Party in a chat room with 30 or 40 people. Honest to God. That's where it started. So it could start right here, right now. We just have to have the people stop looking for somebody else to save their ass. Whether it's Trump or whether it's God or whether it's I don't know who, but stop looking for somebody to save your ass when it's up to you to save your own. We have the authority in this country. Straight up. We can air our grievances tomorrow. I'll write them out for you. Only take me 10 minutes. Vincent could probably do it in 9. But the point is this, we can write out, there's no shortage of grievances. Air those grievances. Hear ye, Congress, from the president on down, every federally elected official. These are the crimes you've committed against the Constitution and therefore the people. You're fired. We would revoke our consent for you to govern us. We have that authority, people, to do that. Now, should they say, screw you? Well, they're now in insurrection against us. You see, folks, we're their boss. You can't be in guilty of insurrection against yourself. Insurrection is just another word for insubordination, isn't it, Vincent?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going
Right.
against the moral authority of these idiots.
You're just going against the authority. We are the authority. So you cannot be in insurrection or insubordinate towards yourself. See, they got you all dumbed down so much that you believe they're bullshit because you weren't taught right in schools. You were never educated right, and you've never had the intellectual curiosity on your own to learn things.
Because
me and Vincent did that for you.
That's because they were taught what to think and not how to think or critical thinking.
My second grade teacher,
they took critical thinking away from the children.
A second or third grade teacher told us, my job as your teacher isn't to tell you what to think. It's to teach you how to think. That's always stuck with me. And I've always liked knowledge anyway. So, again, Vincent and I and some others, not very many of us, we've done a lot of thinking. We've done a lot of strategizing. We've done a lot of living. So we've done the thinking for you. Okay. Just like the private in the military doesn't do anything. He just does what the damn general tells him to do. Right, Vincent?
Yep. Because you've got people in between that already have it measured out.
That's right. So what people like myself need, and people say, John, you're arrogant. Well, you know what? Maybe it is, but I can back it up. So it's not arrogance if it's true. Right?
It's called self-confidence.
That's right. And we don't have any of that in this country. In fact, those of us who are self-confident, we're just, oh my God, we have a miserable life because you all make it miserable. Because for some reason we intimidate and scare you because we're right.
We got the facts.
Yes. And when people don't like knowledge, one of the reasons is when they don't like the knowledge, just like these people who could get this information to Trump but refuse to. So when they have information, then it's incumbent upon them to share it, especially if it could help anything. So then they're like, damn, I don't want to know because John, if I know this, or Vince, if I know this, then I got to do something about it. I don't want to know because I don't want to do anything with this information to help my fellow man. That's bullshit. But I understand the human condition, and that's how 99.999% of our people are. That's unfortunate, but that's how it is. Some of us are not that way. Some of us are the battle-hardened generals, and you guys are privates and corporals and sergeants. We need them all. We need everybody. But just like in any army, there can't be too many chiefs in the kitchen. We know what happens then.
Well, Just Me writes, in the military, you don't get paid to think.
You're right. You get paid to do. You're right.
The other thing is also, I remember having many bosses ahead of me, or that I was, of course, to take their listen to their orders or charges or whatever, and all they wanted me for was from here on down.
That's right.
They wanted me from the neck on down. That's it. Pay attention with your eyes, listen to stuff, and don't get hurt, and keep your mouth shut, and keep your thoughts to yourself.
Act, don't think, because thinking will get you killed.
Right.
That's what they would tell you.
That's what they would tell you. Right.
That's right. And I'm the same way. The military wouldn't take me because I couldn't pass physicals because my back is just it's shot. I was born with it. But I've always loved the military. I've always loved the structure. And guys, we need not an army with guns. We need an army of patriots that are willing to follow a few leaders on how we get this shit done. We are the most powerful people on this planet. Guns aside, our Constitution makes us the most powerful people on this planet. Pure and simple. We are a government by, for, and of the people. Those aren't just words. Those are facts. You all don't know the facts.
Let me ask you this, John. In my opinion, this is my opinion. Again, I told you, running for governor, first thing, law and order. Let's help the cops out. Let's keep the criminals in. And the second thing, what about going after the people, as I just mentioned, for instance, Dean Van Schoy, who's not taking his oath of service to protect the community at heart, and talk to the community and be interested in engaging with them. Why can't we just remove, for instance, prosecuting attorneys that aren't charging the criminals, state representatives, for instance, Cori Bush, get rid of her. I mean, she's not only has her own police force around her with no cops in the community, blood on the streets daily, as well as letting the criminals out. How is it that a governor could not say to that person, step down, resign now with dignity, or you're getting fired? How come that can't happen?
It would take the people to do it. The people could do that.
But it has to be done swiftly.
Well, they could. They people, you don't have to wait till a new election to get rid of your loser elected official. It's not set up that way.
Yep.
You can do it now. You can air your grievances, cite your grievances, and say, you are not morally proper. You're stupid. You're cutting deals. You're selling out our sovereignty to whomever. There's all kinds of ways that you can remove somebody from office. You simply revoke your consent. Remember, our elected officials govern with our consent.
Yep.
That consent is not immutable from election day to election day.
Well, there are bills.
It can be withdrawn at any time.
Yeah, but there are bills at times that they will pass without the vote of the people. How is it that they can circumvent and pass some of these bills without the vote of the people?
Well, that's just the legislative process. It's always been that way. However, when we started as a country, our people were much more engaged and they cared more. The communication sucked. Right now, we have all this communications. We don't even use it to communicate our feelings and our demands to our employees in Washington, D.C. But before we actually cared, remember, we just come out of a bloody Revolutionary War. And so we cared more. We actually did care at one time. And we don't anymore. We farm out our thinking to everybody else. And that's dangerous as hell. You said, well, I don't have, everybody has an opinion. Let's hear it. Now, my exes, I had stepkids for years, had 7 of them. And they'd be like, well, the teacher said this or that. And I'm like, really? Well, the teacher's wrong. And I explained to them why the teacher was wrong, especially about this man-made global warming. And then they started the CRT bullshit, right? The kids were coming home terrified that they're going to be dead in a couple of years because some dingbat bartender said that the world's going to end in 12 years and we got 6 years left, right? So, and of course, the teacher is parroting what this dingbat bartender says, right? Because they're just as stupid as AOC is. Scaring our children. Is that cool? No. So I'd sit them down and explain to them why that isn't true. Of course, then when their mother would hear me, oh my God, she'd be mad at me for educating the kids. First of all, raising kids in terror, isn't that kind of wrong, you guys? And then lying to them, saying, you're going to be dead now in 6 years. You know they have a countdown clock in New York City, don't you? When the world's supposed to end? Yep. According to AOC. Did you know that? Google it. It's there. It is 6 years, some odd days and seconds. They have it down to the seconds on when the world will end. And half of you numbskulls believe that bullshit. You gotta
And the other half just go along with it because
the other half goes along with
their friends believe in it.
Well, it's like, I can't tell you how many times powerful elected officials will say to me, John, the people aren't going to believe that. They'll figure it out.
Hang on. Here's a question, John. Do you think our employees in D.C. would actually acknowledge our words and do something about it? Just me. I have the answer on this. Do you, John?
No, they wouldn't. So we'd have to make sure that they did something about
it. Actually, they do know. They're called the FBI. They're taking people like us and calling us domestic terrorists. We are the extremists. Yes, we are the one. I mean, I don't know about you, John, but I'm a radical extremist in their opinion.
Yeah, well, so am I, because I believe in freedom.
I don't think they're going to use the employees. By the way, I don't think they're going to use our voices there at all.
No,
they ran out on the clock too. The Mayan calendar.
The whole Mayan calendar. I love that too. And the world did end. Theirs. We just assigned it to our own self because that's how our ego apparently is.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other different subject. There's not a whole lot of subjects that I haven't been introduced to or delved into in my lifetime because I just have this stupid, curious mind, which just serves no purpose other than I have a curious mind, you know. So people who know me well would say that. Says, why do you learn all this stuff? What do you do with it? Why don't you learn it? I'm waiting for people to learn what I learned, so I have somebody reasonably intelligent to talk to. That makes sense.
At the same time, yes, but at the same time, John, you've got to keep your mind open for expansion of things that you.
It's always open to expansion.
You have to.
That's how come I've learned so much. Yeah. Because my mind has always been and always will be open to expansion and new information. And when I find new information and then I validate that new information through various sources of research, then it's like, okay, where can I now take this credible, legitimate piece of information and put it into the information that I already know? How can I enhance what I already know? That's what I do with new information. I don't just go, oh, okay, I don't care. Somebody says, John, look this up. I'm going to look it up. I looked up something for a friend today online. And useless trivia. I used to be king of trivia, just me. And I'd go back in the 80s, 90s when it was really popular because you'd get a free meal or free drinks. Remember that, Vincent?
Yep.
You win the trivia night, you get free food and free drinks, right? I got to the point to say, John, you can't play today or next week. We're losing too much money on you. Let somebody else win. So I'm like, okay, so yeah, it's useless until you need the information for either food or maybe survival. It just depends. But having it somewhere, as long as it's good, legitimate information, it's never going to go to waste. You know, I always find a way to adopt it into what I've already known. So this is, you know, when people say, you got to expand my mind, I have a very expanded mind. Do I have a mind that'll fall for anything and everything? No. Never. John's brain has more bumps than the Oregon Trail. Well, actually, with the thousands of wagon trains that went over the Oregon Trail, try to find any ruts in those trails now. You know, they're still there. A lot of them are still there. So I don't know how rutty it is, but anyway. I'm an Oregon Trail. I'll take that
one. We have to be able to have a giggle or two. Yeah. You know, but the fact of the matter is, again, folks, John, you've got some other podcasts that you're doing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the stuff you're doing so maybe people can take a couple little notes down and say, hey, I kind of like listening to this cat. So what else do you have going on?
All right, well, I got to say something to just me. He says, I couldn't last 10 minutes in a DNC meeting without either an outburst or vomiting uncontrollably.
He was talking about himself.
Yeah, I know. That's what he's saying about us. Yeah, you could go do it. Challenge yourself. I mean, it's not for the faint of heart to go and break bread with Satan's demons. It's just not something everybody can do. But go do it a couple times, and you'll see what I'm talking about is true. And then you'd be like, oh my God, this nutcase on the show with Vinzent was right. So my other show is I do a podcast. I put most of them on Rumble. And I'm on Rumble at JBD10611. I'm on Getter at the same place, JBD10611. And on Facebook, I have a page. It's called Patriots Unite with your host, John Dady. And I may be changing that to something because nobody's uniting. I might change it to Patriots. Vinzent, did you bleep me on that?
Oh no! I was no. What is is it a website? It's JBD10611.
That's my where you find me on Getter and where you find me on Rumble.
Okay.
And on True Social, I'm at John Dady for Congress.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to get this on Rumble. And what was the other one on Getter?
Yeah, Getter.
Okay.
And then True Social, John Dady for Congress. And I also have a John Dady for Congress page on Facebook. But I'm trying to get almost everything moved over to Getter and Rumble because YouTube likes to, censor me. Shocker. And Facebook got on me one time. I don't give a shit. But, I need to be someplace where free speech is allowed. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And when we started really neutering ourselves, Vinzent, in the modern era, it's when the Democrats come up with this thing called political correctness in the 80s. Remember that?
Right.
And that was a Democrat thing. And
did you buy into that political?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, neither do I.
No, never. Because I knew exactly what it was. Once you start controlling how a person speaks, you eventually turn their thinking differently. We muted ourselves. We still mute ourselves. We did it for so long that it affected our thinking, and now we don't even question. So anytime somebody's saying you can't say this, or that, ignore the hell out of them. Let them call you whatever. It just ignore it. Don't, oh, well, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, you're this or that. Just go, have a good day. You're a Democrat. Now that I can prove. Throw it back on them. And because we can demonstrate beyond any reasonable doubt that Democrats are in fact demons, as I stated at the top of the show. They can't hide and run from that. So you all need to start actually saying what they are. And go say, well, my family votes for Democrats. Really? So your family supports murdering unborn children. Your family supports transgenderism because that's the party who does it.
And your party supports the self-mutilation of children at your expense. I mean, you're mutilating your own kids and giving them all kinds of drugs.
So if your family is voting for the party that supports that, whether they support it or not, it does not matter. That does not absolve them. They're voting for the people that do. You're just as guilty. You're a demon. There's no running from it. You can't hide from it. You're a demon. And Bongino's finally been picking up on some of my language the last several months after hundreds of communications to him. Of course, these people never reply back to you. But when I listen to him and go, oh, well, that's just what I sent you the day before yesterday. Great. I get it. It's fine. I'm public. I put shit out there. And if somebody wants to run with it, great. But they still need to, this whole Democrat thing and why I have this name for them, this needs to be an entire movement all by itself. The left, Vinzent, will not know how to respond to it other than to go even more batshit crazy, right?
Right.
And it's kind of fun in a twisted set of way. sort of way. When you start getting these guys off balance and going crazy, and then they start making more and more mistakes, you can't help but mess with them and send them so much disinformation about what you're going to do or not do next, or when and where. And they'll have no choice but to then devote resources to track down that stuff and make sure it's true or not. Do you see?
You know, the thing is, John.
Do that. I've done this to organizations, and it always proved my point that I was right, but it also proved my point that you can mess with these people. Now, what were you going to say? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
You know, you've got to think that in your own community, you've got to look up, you've got to dig up, pick up some of those rocks, kick around a couple of the tree branches on the ground, you know, because believe me, there is something that's going to give you a calling that's going to get you more involved with what you need to do, again, in your little itty bitty communities. I mean, just seriously, John, I spoke with a mayor, said, hey, you know, and you're going to like this. I said, you've got a school board meeting and a city council meeting on the third Monday of every night. City councils in Stone, first and third Monday. Tell the school board they need to move. And then you talk to the police and say, hey, now you put all your resources at one meeting on two different individual nights. And it gives that parent an opportunity to go to both of those meetings. And then what do they turn around and say to the school board? Well, you know, we transferred it on to another day because too many federal holidays fall on a Monday.
Yeah.
In other words, they just want to twist things. But in reality, what they've been doing, John, is they've been stifling the people from going to one or the other, or
yes, they have been.
From doing their due diligence of wanting to be taking part in a meeting and having something to say. And that's another thing. Why is it that suddenly people, you've got to walk, you know, in order to sit down at a school board meeting, you've got to tell them what you want to talk about. I don't think that they need to know. If you give them what the topic matter is, they only turn around and build a defense before you even get to open your mouth.
That's right.
So that when they finally say, well, okay, you're here to talk about blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? We've already got the answers for blah, blah, blah. Because we're the ones with all the answers. We're the ones that know everything there is. You know, I mean, we have got to get more involved. And again, I don't care if it's just if it's with a charity level of Christianity or at a thrift store that's for the Missouri Blind Society.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. You've got to get involved. You've got to find something that says, you know what, I can make a difference. I have a homeowners approach, a home oppressors association here in Lake Viking. They won't.
Yeah.
By the way, I've asked to go on to the Lake Viking people's page, whatever the hell it is. They won't let me go on because they know what I'm already about. But the thing is, I need 1,000 signatures to turn around and say, guess what, you idiots? You're out of here. We don't need the oppressors telling people they can or cannot fish off their shoreline or their dock.
Exactly.
The lake is closed because of rain. What, you think people can't freaking fish in the rain? Come on.
Sometimes the fish bite the best, especially if you're using topwater lures when it's raining.
Yeah. I'm not even an angler, and I know a little bit about that, I've heard.
No, see, that's just HOAs are just what I've always referred to them for years as they're little Hitler wannabes.
Yep.
You get in there, you give them just a little bit of a power, and it goes to their little mentally deficient minds. And they're just not nice people to begin with. And the way they treat their fellow man, their fellow homeowners, proves that they're not nice people at all. And I hate to say that, but it's just true.
Yep.
And they act like they're your lords and masters.
Yep.
And you let them. You know, there's always this thing, folks, called strength and safety in numbers. Right, Vincent?
Yes.
That's not just a saying. That is a truism. Truism is something that can't be argued with. Okay, just so you know. So if you got 400 homeowners and an HOA, and you got your little Hitler out there just making your life miserable, just all stop complying.
Well, you know what I did?
You
You want to know what I did, John?
There's nothing they could do to 400 people.
John, I just turned around and put a small claim in on the Home Oppressors Association out here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get, and I mean, everything I'm going to present is factual, it's truthful, it's indisputable. And I believe if the judge, in my heart of hearts, has the right sense of mind, he's going to turn around and say, you know what? Obviously, you guys just fucked with the wrong man. Sorry about that, everyone. I don't usually say that, but I just cursed. I'll be damned if I pay someone to tell me that what I can and can't do with the property I paid for. You're absolutely right. Yep.
Unfortunately, we have too many of those HOAs, even in the middle of no place. And unfortunately, in our towns or even our cities and townships, they have so many stupid city ordinances designed to control you that it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we all want to have our neighbors have our houses look good. And if somebody needs their yard mowed and they can't get it done, go and mow their yard. We used to do that growing up. And if somebody needs some help your damn neighbor. Okay. This is what, it's a Christian thing to do. Instead, you say, well, I wonder when the HOA is going to yell at Joe Blow over here because he hasn't mowed his yard. Well, for example, here recently, somebody's yard didn't get mowed. It was looking really bad. And there was all kinds of shit going on. Turned out the guy died. Okay. So nobody even bothered to knock on the door and ask, do you need some help?
Did they give him an infraction as a parting gift from the homeowners association? They gave him an infraction anyway.
Yeah. I'd hate to have to die for that infraction, and then they tell you you can have 2 pets of this breed. They have to be this small. Really, I'm inside my house and you're telling me how I have to live. They don't put a limit on children, but you can only have 2 pets, and it has to be of a certain kind. Go pound sand someplace. Okay. You don't, what's next, guys? These homeowners associations saying, well, your house is 10 years old. You need to remodel it on the inside to bring it up. Yeah. Because now keep in mind, they always use this excuse for their power grab. Well, we're trying to maintain the value of the homes in the neighborhood, right? Okay. Let's say this house is kept up, modern, and everything's great, but the neighbor's house isn't. Yeah, that neighbor's house, on the comps, mine's going to comp more than his, but his is going to comp less. So can it affect the value? Yes. But is it up to the HOA to tell us you must now change all your appliances, or you must now paint your walls these colors because these are the popular colors, and you must use this type of flooring now because this is popular? No, that isn't up to them. But you know what? They're this close to starting to do that. They really are. They've already reached inside your home by telling you how many pets you can or cannot have, or what kind you can or cannot have. So it's just, and we just take it. I don't understand it. United we stand and divided we fall. That's another truism in everything in this life. You're not going to be able to go out and win any battle just 1 or 2 or 3 people or small groups. You have to unite in strength, determination, and your numbers. That's how you win any battle. So, Vincent, where'd you disappear to?
Well, I was looking for my phone because I wanted to take a picture. Just me. I really like that. I'll be damned if I pay someone to tell me what I can and can't do with the property that I pay for. Wonderful line. And again,
you're right.
And really,
Jeff Means says we can't own chickens. That pisses me off. It does me too. It's like chickens are great. They don't take up a lot of room. They provide great protein with their eggs. And it's crap that we can't have them here. I live in a rural subdivision. We hear the coyotes every night. We hear the cows. We hear everything, which is great. I like that. But we can't have chickens. I got a fenced yard like most people here. and you get a little chicken coop, and I can't have chickens because the HOA says no. Now the county, because I live in unincorporated Lincoln County, the county could give a shit less. They just don't care. So why should the HOA? I think having some chickens adds to the atmosphere of a neighborhood, don't you, Vincent?
I do, especially on a Saturday evening when you've got a couple after you've been slow broiling them all afternoon. I mean, a barbecue, yeah. I mean, chicken could become my emotional support animal in that regard, dressed just for the occasion like that.
Yeah. So I grew up on a farm. At one time, we had 400 laying hens. So I've been around chickens a lot. And they're not as dumb as what a lot of people think they are.
Oh, no. Actually, I watched a lady that's got several, like 28 or 30. And she's a really cool chickie herself. Really cool chickie. But, people really do. They've got them for house pets even.
No, they're great.
In some cases. So
yes, they do.
But the HOA is going to tell you what you can and cannot do. And you got to pay them for that advice on their part. And again, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you remember a thing called a money clip?
Yes, I do. My grandpa had one his entire life.
Okay. Do you know what you call a money clip today?
Shit, we don't have one.
Well, yeah. It's called Biden economy. It's Bidenomics. It's empty. The money clip is empty.
There's no money to put in your money clip.
Right. You've got to have it up on
Actually, my grandpa had a money belt.
A money belt was another one, too.
Oh, yeah. That's where you had your money because you went through the Depression, obviously, as a 30-year-old guy. You didn't trust banks. You couldn't. So, and he wore that until the day he died. It was quite amazing. I had a money clip there for a long time when, didn't have
I just use those office little things at the office.
Paperclip?
Paper clips. Which ones with the big springs? I don't know.
You might as right now, our money is no better than monopoly money at this point in time.
Well, if you look at our money and you look at monopoly money, factually speaking, it actually, every single denomination has the color of the denomination that the monopoly money has on our American money. Fact. Look at it. You'll laugh your ass off if you look that one up.
Well, and other things we don't talk about a lot. I have a lot of interests, including foreign affairs. I try to pay attention a little bit every day what's going on in the world around us, because we don't live in a vacuum, folks. We just don't. And of course, ever since Biden stole that election, the entire planet has become far less safe because of him. And I can hear even the Republicans out there going, that's not true. The hell it isn't. When you deliberately seek to destroy your economic base in your country, which he did on day one, you just put the whole world at risk. When you take 1 million plus barrels a day of oil off the market, which he did, by reducing our output, by making it impossible to get loans for production wells and blah, blah, blah. Look into it. When he closed down that pipeline, we were almost finished with that pipeline, Vincent. That was going to get us, for our part of the deal, you know how much oil we were going to get out of that every day?
I don't have a clue.
850,000 barrels per day, folks.
For the state.
No, for us, for putting in those pipelines.
For
that
the Keystone,
is not
for the
change.
Keystone.
Yeah, on Keystone
pipeline that we put in. I was a part of the Keystone.
He shut it down. And, we have over 3 million miles of pipelines in this country, of all kinds of pipelines. I know Jessme's going to say, that's just trivial, but it's true. Over 3 million miles, almost 4 million miles of pipelines underground. And they were acting like, we can't put this pipeline in because it'll destroy the world.
Right.
Really? Okay.
Well, but you know what?
They want to now strip mine our entire damn country for minerals to build those stupid batteries with. And all that shit's going to go where, Vincent? Into the groundwater.
It always did before. Destroying our ecology and our environment.
That's why we stopped strip mining, people.
But did you hear Joe Biden this past weekend when he was in Vietnam? He made this statement.
You mean that?
He actually made this
That's
statement.
my sense of humor.
he actually made this statement that Africa does not have one road that goes north and south and one continuous road that goes east to west. You're talking about the minerals being depleted. You look at all the deaths of the children and the poor people in Africa that are pulling that cobalt out of the freaking ground, dying of cancers at the tender ages of 14, 18, and 25. And Biden's more worried about a road going across Africa than our roads here and our roads that we're not using, in this case, pipelines.
Yeah.
The road to money. Our pipelines are our road to money.
Well, pipelines transfer a lot of things. Like Chad said here about the virus. Yeah, virus did take down a major pipeline system in the Northeast there for several days. And where are we at on any of this stuff? Our lack of paying the hell attention to our own country is killing us. Let's see what he's got here. Yeah, and after they shut down the camera, the virus, they did eventually get it fixed, but it was a while, if I remember, Chad. Why don't you refresh your memory on that one? Because that was rather interesting, and it was back to back. But Biden's more concerned about. Here's what I'm concerned about. I never run out of things to be concerned about. But Vincent, what's your thought on these? I don't know if you've watched any of my videos and podcasts about these lithium-ion batteries and EVs. What's your thought on that? What do you think the whole reasoning and game plan is behind it?
Well, the thing is this. Number one, the reasoning game plan, I think they came out of the gate too soon. They're not getting the optimum out of those. I'm not an engineer, mind you, but I believe that engineering could really help in reference to whatever load capacitors, whatever the anodes, the cathodes, all that goes gets involved in that stuff can be reworked to the point that we're not using as much, and yet we can still get the longevity out of that material. But once that, apparently a friend of mine sent me in fact, that's funny you say this. A friend of mine sent me a text the other day that said there are 95% of electric motor vehicles right now to date, how the ones that are manufactured, 95% of them are actually on the road still. The other 4%, 5% seem to make it home okay.
That's right.
So you've got these graveyards. True. Yeah, and you've got these graveyards of batteries that are really, they're destroying the ground earth underneath. There's the contamination that's coming out of it. There's no telling the long-term effects of how people are going to. It may end up in their drinking water.
Oh, well, it will. It will have no other choice. It's going to go somewhere. It's going to go in the ground water supply. And this whole, I might as well say it because let's see what Jasmine's saying is Africa. Yeah, he's right. Here in America, we drive on what's left of the roads. That's right, Jasmine. So I might as well say this. I'm never going to get anything done with it myself. But since I was a child, Scouts, I don't know if you went to Scouts or not, where you built your own power plant and you built your own radio station and all that, right? And so you build a power plant to power, remember, your little light bulbs.
Oh, you were the real geek.
I followed the Boy Scout manual. I still have a book of it. I went right through all of it. And all the den meetings were held at our house. So, because we had a big place, we had a yard, we had the official rope climbing rope for the, the metal, the handbook requirements and everything. Yeah, we did it right. But as I was playing with the power station, it's like, yeah, of course, batteries sucked back then. Vincent. Remember the 60s? Right. You get 20 minutes out of a battery, you're like, yay. So anyway, so you're building your power plant, folks. And to create the energy to run your little bitty tiny light bulb, right? And it was all fun and games until you run out of battery. Remember that, Vincent? So I'm like, okay, I got my little power station there. I'm like, and there was always little kids in the house. I had 6 kids in the family, and then we had one kid we adopted for a while. Remember those little windmill things? Those little pinwheels?
Right.
Okay. There was one laying there on the floor with him. I was like, huh. So I kind of, jury rigged it, shade yard mechanic thing on it. and put it in there. And it's because I needed something to turn that damn belt because my battery quit on me. Right? That was turning the belt to charge my light, to keep my light running, right?
Gotcha.
So I put this in there and it's like, get the little windmill thing and start turning it enough. And I go, oh, well, this has the shaft, which is the handle. Here's my power, which is to windmill the blade. Well, that'll turn this thing. Perpetually keeping my battery charged. So my next trip in the car, there's always one of those pinwheels, and I put it out the window and it's just spinning like crazy. Take it back in a little bit and change the angles of this. And I was like, oh, interesting. That's been with me my entire life. And because I've tried 1,000 times to get a hold of Elon Musk, I've talked to multiple people who have money who could support me in this. Of course, they're cowards, but
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank will ignore this as well because, well, I'm nothing. I'm nobody. Here's the thing here, folks. If you want to make yourself a couple quadrillion dollars, listen to me and listen to me closely. Okay? This is not a test. This is real. There's no reason to plug in your EV vehicle, ever. First of all, I don't like lithium ion. They're unstable. And when they burst into fire, it's like you're an instant marshmallow. There's no escaping it. You're done. Your nickel cadmium batteries are much safer. When was the last time you heard of one of them roasting your ass? It doesn't happen. The knock on them is their lack of energy capacity. It doesn't hold as much energy as a lithium ion does. Well, with my devices, that is irrelevant because you're going to recharge that vehicle when you're going down the road. I think we all know about kinetic and potential energy, right, Vincent?
Yes.
Now, when I was taking that windmill thing and using it to turn my little power station, I've got kinetic energy, which is being used, and potential energy, which is sitting there waiting to be used, which is like you're going kinetic, potential, kinetic, back and forth. When you're going down that road, what the hell are you creating? Potential energy.
Potential energy.
All of that wind. All of that wind that you're creating because of your motion is potential energy.
I think you want to take that to freaking VW so they can put them all over their bugs instead of putting those plastic
there's
paper
6 ways to do it. I can't go
that
to
aren't doing anything.
I can't go to
aren't
VW.
doing anything.
Who's going to let me talk to anybody of any importance at VW? Nobody.
So if anyone out there knows someone that's connected,
there's
how about
a zillion ways to do this?
How about Elon Musk's daughter? She hates him.
Well, if Elon Musk's daughter wants to reach out to me, I'll make her wealthier than her old man. What I am telling you is it would change the world on how we create energy. There is energy all around us, people. Watch this. I just created energy. This hand motion created what? Wind. Not much, but that wind is measurable. That wind can then be harnessed to do what? Turn something, for example. Did you know? And we've had go down to the if it's still there in Union Station, that Science City, awesome. And we've had potential energy in one perpetual motion in one form or another for decades in this country. We look at it. Most people don't even know what it is. When you go down there, everyone puts pinwheels. No, just me. It's more complicated than that. That's not what I'm talking about.
It's the hang on.
It's
the pinheads. It's the pinheads that are in the EVs.
See, this is like, I don't know whether you're joking or not, but I use that as an example of kinetic and potential energy. Okay. No, we won't have pinwheels coming out of our cars. Okay. Just me, tell me if you were kidding or not. I really want to know.
Oh, John.
Everyone put pinwheels on your EVs. So get this. There's a guy in Subaru. And because I follow this stuff. This is several years ago, though. Because, the holy grail of EVs is, well, it should be onboard recharging. Right? Because see, do you
want an apology, John?
No, I didn't know.
Are you sure you don't want an apology?
No,
He
I'm
thought
sure.
he
I
wasn't taking you
I
serious.
didn't know whether he's being smart ass or serious because there was
Oh,
no.
these are smart ass people on this damn thing. Are
I
you
don't
kidding
know,
me?
but here's
Hey, you guys just haven't been smart assed enough on this show.
you know.
Let me down.
Thanks, just me. Appreciate it. But the point is this: it can be done. It should be done. If Elon could figure out how to land that damn rocket engine back down, okay, and reuse it, he can't. People achieve their level of incompetence of overeducation. I took a lot of science. I love science. I still study things. People were told, well, you can't defeat gravity. The hell you can't defeat it. You can make it work for you. I've been saying that since I was a teenager. In a narrow field, you can cause gravity to be at least greatly depleted. And then guess what that means, folks? You don't need near as much thrust, which means a lot less fuel to achieve orbit. Do you know they're actually working on that? We may get that done before this old guy dies.
You know what, John? I
Because
think you're
it's
missing,
real. You just
John, you're missing your calling. I don't think you should be running for a U.S. Senate, Congress. I think you should probably be running for rocket sciences with Elon or
no,
Bezos.
because I don't have the pedigree. I don't have the degrees, and never mind the fact that most great inventors didn't have a degree. It's just common sense and it's observing. And I have just, if nothing else in my life, I observe things and I see how things work together. But I don't have the ability to make, because this takes money to research and develop and dozens of patents on it. But people like Elon could do that. I've thought about approaching some of our universities and colleges that have electrical engineering programs and approaching them. Says, here's what I want you to develop, and you're going to get enough of the royalties off of this. Follow me here. They're going to get obviously some of the royalties off of this, and all the royalties you get off of this invention, which will be vast, you will be using that money to pay for the education of everybody who comes to your school. That's what the money will be used for, because that's where I wanted to go.
That's a good start. John, I think we're going to be closing the show up now. Is there anything you want to say to anyone out there? What do you want to tell? What do you want to tell all of us muttonheads? I'm a muttonhead. Yeah.
It's like, just learn more. Don't be such a patsy and a fool for the left. I'm telling you, they laugh at us all the time. They've been laughing at you for decades. I know I've been there. While they're laughing at you. There's got to be some pride, something has to kick in somewhere. Self-preservation, maybe for your kids, your grandkids, because remember, it's not just about you. Quit, throw that narcissistic bullshit attitude away, because that's getting everybody killed. Whoa, it's about
the future of our world. It's about the future of our country.
I learned things to share with other people in hope that they'll be able to do something about it, because God didn't put me in the position to do anything about it. He just gave me knowledge. Okay. And that knowledge is no good until it is shared and used. Does that make sense? So This is what I'm asking everybody here to do, is learn the things that Vincent and I have talked about here today, investigate them, find out that we're not wrong. And then say, don't say, John, Vincent, there's nothing we can do about it. So there you go. That's that self-defeatist bullshit attitude that the left counts on. You never, ever disappoint the left. Yes, there is everything you can, should, and must do about this. It's called uniting. Again, we started Tea Party online in a chat room.
Who knows? Maybe we'll try and do that here with the common.
We need to do that right now. Everybody needs, and we would meet at a certain time every week, sometimes 2-3 times a week. And we would hash things out and talk all kinds of things. And that's when we decided we've had enough. And we literally started there online.
Well, let us know what you think about that, folks. You know how to reach out to us here on the Common Denominator and the logbook and so on and so forth. John, thank you for your time. I'm going to boot you out of here.
All right. Thanks for getting me all wound up for the rest of the night here, folks.
That's okay. Stick around another half hour. Chad and Mama Sally come on. Chad will have the truck it It's called
Yeah.
truck it. Just truck it. You know?
Yep. Well,
Oh, you're
it's
going to
been
get on
good.
out of here. Thank you, John.
It's been good. Thank you, y'all.
Right on. You know, John's been plugging away at this. I'm going to say this safely. The better part of his life. I know it's hard for us to maybe understand that a person can have that kind of passion. He's never been able to, quote unquote, get elected into a position that I believe he could possibly do some good at. But, you know, you have to think back in history. Abraham Lincoln was the most unsuccessful citizen of the United States at the time that he ultimately picked up the banner to run for president. And believe it or not, he was elected. He actually was elected. But that's because he believed in himself. And what John was just saying is, folks, only you can make a change, but you have got to believe in yourself. You've got to know that deep down inside, you can make that change. And all I can say is thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been great. Have a good week. You know, just don't give up. Keep the hope and keep the faith. Voraciously, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. And here we go with the closer.
The song is for all Americans. I just wrote this last night. Well, some say I'm trouble, some say I'm extreme. 'Cause I love this country and the American dream. And I'll let no politician tell me what to do. Yeah, I was raised country with work on my hands. Well, you respect your neighbor and you respect the land. And I'll let no president tell me what to do. 'Cause my blood runs red, white, and blue. Yeah, my blood runs red, white, and blue. Yeah, Daddy taught me right from wrong. When to be humble and when to be strong. And I'll fight for freedom if that's what I must do. 'Cause my blood runs red, white, and blue. Now Papa's passed while I was off to war. And this country's changing, it ain't the same anymore. But I'll fight for freedom, yes, I'll fight for you. 'Cause my blood runs red, white, and blue. Hope you like it. Keep the faith, brothers. Stand strong. Fight for freedom.